Hi, this is Shawn Meehan,
This is Braden Williams,
and you're listening to
the Psychology
of Lickage. We are back. This is awesome.
Yeah, with episode 2.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. It's really cool. And yeah, always never hesitate to let us know what you want us to talk about. We want to hear from you guys, and we'll talk about whatever. So,
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, where do we start? I guess in episode 2 we started. Let's go into the history of where it all started. The history of soloing. I know for me, I got into this to be a lead guitar player right from the beginning. I just thought it was so damn cool. There's just nothing cooler than a guy just laying into a solo. I just fell in love with that since I was a kid. How about you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was the same thing for me. I remember. I mean, like, it was kind of, I guess it was a little bit different. It was more like I watched Elvis play, and he didn't play a lot of lead stuff. But, of course, I thought that Scotty Moore's playing was Elvis's playing.
Yeah.
And I tried to emulate poor Scotty Moore.
Yeah. Does all the work. Elvis gets all the credit.
Yeah. So that kind of happened. And then I remember my dad playing A Whole Lot of Love, and then that solo. And I was just like, I just want to play that solo. It was just so cool the way that it just screamed right in the middle of nothing. Like, nothing was going on.
Yeah,
it's
just so...
Yeah.
And it seems to me like there's kind of two ways of looking, because obviously we grew up in pop culture where rock and roll was where all the lead soloing is. And it seems to me, there's two types of people. They're the people that are fascinated with the singer and everything else is in, or there's the gunslinger guitar player. To me, he's the cooler guy.
Yeah.
Keith Richards, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Perry, just the gunslinger. It seems to, for me, was always all around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still think it's the coolest thing in the world. I'd rather sit through, like going to an Eric Johnson concert and listening to 2 hours of soloing.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah. What's that saying? The lyrics are just.
Oh yeah. And Mark Knopfler says, and he nails it. I agree with him. For me, when I listen to music, he says vocals are just to fill in between the solos.
Yeah.
And you can hear that in his first album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we went to see Eric Johnson, it was literally just solos.
So
you do a little bit of singing and then like 5 minutes of soloing. And then like another verse and then another 5 minutes of solo.
Totally, I think the singing was just to give you a break, just to kind of we're gonna wipe the palette and then we're gonna play more solos. So, but yeah, so that's for me. So, where did it all start? Where does it? I know.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a complicated question to try and figure out because there's so many different genres and they all kind of start at different times, right?
Yeah, I think it melds from a few different areas. That you got the blues coming out of slavery. You know, you've got sort of bluegrass, which is the roots of country. Yeah, and then you had mentioned jazz too.
Yeah, jazz is kind of where it started in terms of soloing, from what I can see for the electric guitar, because Charlie Christian, he was the guy that did he invented the Charlie Christian pickup, probably with a lot of help, but
but he took the credit.
Yeah. So he invented that, and then he started playing in the jazz band that he was in, and people could actually hear him, which was amazing because before it was just acoustic guitar, and of course they had to compete with the horns, and the horns were way louder than an acoustic guitar.
Exactly.
So that's where it kind of started, and then of course the blues. I guess the blues kind of started the whole three-lick theory, because if you were to go out in the fields and watch, the people, I guess the slaves. Yeah. What they would do is they would do call and response, and they would do similar licks over and over again.
And they were generally one guitar, so they were singing, playing rhythm, and playing lead all at the same time. Yeah. So they go, oh man, no. So they try to sound like a band with one guitar, and I think you're right. That's where a lot of soloing starts to happen. Yeah. And so and I think they were doing three licks too. I think they learned their three licks, and it's like I.
Well, there's only 3 chords in blues. So.
Well, there you go. So a lot of time,
1 lick per chord.
Yeah, actually, it was 1 lick over 3 chords. But no, I think when you go back, tying this into the 3-lick theory, when you go back to even bluegrass, I remember when I first used to try to analyze bluegrass, I found it overwhelming. Yeah. But again, it's the difference between playing over 1 chord, which was what the blues guys do, and then the bluegrass and jazz guys are playing over different chords. We talked about this in the first episode, where again the blues guys I believe are sort of the ancestors of the rock guys. Yeah. And then right? The bluegrass and jazz guys are more the ancestors of the country guys and more contemporary country guys.
Yeah, like if you listen to someone like B.B. King or Freddie King in particular, he plays just like Eric Clapton. I mean, you could say the opposite. Eric
Yeah,
Clapton
yeah,
plays
yeah.
just like
Yeah.
him. He literally plays the same guitar. Like Eric Clapton was a huge Freddie King
Yeah.
fan, and you can hear it in his playing.
Well, that reminds me, we were talking about before the episode, talking about this, where you can't, when you we watch these guitar polls, on Guitar World or whatever. And, oh, the best guitar player in the world was this guy or that guy.
Yeah.
The problem with that is if it wasn't for, like, who would be the big guy today? Who made number one? I can't even remember. I think was it Eddie Van Halen or
I can't remember.
in the recent poll? Well, okay, let's look at. We'll bring it back down to Eddie.
Jimi Hendrix is usually
Jimi Hendrix or Eddie. But the thing is there would have been no Eddie Van Halen if there was no Eric Clapton or no Jimi Hendrix, and there would have been no Eric Clapton or Jimi Hendrix if there wouldn't have been the guys that you mentioned, Freddie King and B.B. King, and there wouldn't have been those guys if it wasn't for their grandfather slaves sitting in a cotton field trying to play. So you can't. I think a great guitar player reflects the time. I think, or the ability reflects the time. And then because it's only, you got to think. Sure, you can say that those early blues licks were really simple, but that's all they had no radio to listen to.
Yeah.
They had to, so they're pretty incredible considering they kind of thought them out of their own heads.
I know. Nowadays, it's like it's kind of exponential. It gets to this point with the internet, it just goes whoosh. It just goes right up, right? Because there's so much that you can learn from the internet.
Yeah, now you're getting 5-year-olds who can play like, 40-year-old. Yeah, who can play Eruption, where nobody could have played Eruption in 1978. But like your average pro player who'd been playing for 10 or 15 years and playing the clubs and playing with big arena bands couldn't play Eruption in 1978.
Yeah.
Right? But now everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody
a lot of
can
the stuff
play.
like the tapping, it was like, what on earth is going on there? Nowadays, you can just see someone tapping on YouTube or whatever. Right?
Yeah, but you can be a 7-year-old and go on YouTube and learn these licks, and it just seems like nothing. And then now you get these guitar players like, what's that? Is it Guthrie? He's really
that guy that just does all the
Artie Guthrie or something like that.
that.
Anyways, sorry if we got your name wrong, but
If you'd like to come on the show.
But he's a reflection of the YouTube generation. But again, there wouldn't have been him if there wasn't any Steve Vai or Eric Johnson, and it just keeps going backwards and backwards and backwards. So which kind of leads me to the question of is art a reflection of society, or is society a reflection of art? Right?
Yeah.
And I think these guitar players are a reflection of their time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with the change in technology, like I said, like with the technology changing, which is society basically.
Yeah, changing.
Changing the amount of expertise with the guitar goes up, right?
Do you find like I hear this a lot about this sort of internet era, even when coming back to psychology, it seems like we're becoming more and more detached. Yeah. More and more our social skills are going out the window. We're becoming more narcissistic. Do you find that the guitar playing today is a little less soulful than it was in 1932, 1964, 1978, 1980?
I don't know about that, because I mean, the listening hasn't changed, and I mean, like, if you were to just listen to it on a computer versus going to listen to it live, it's not like you'll hear more soul live, really. Like, I mean, you can still listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you can still emulate everything and make it sound soulful.
Yeah.
I think it's more just the interaction. Like back before the internet, you actually had to meet people and learn from them.
Yes.
And it was a different way of learning, and I think that the way you learn it it makes a big difference.
I agree. I see that when I go see young bands play live in a club or something.
Yeah.
I find that there's a looseness to it. There's a disconnect. They're not really paying attention to things you should be, like the first of each chorus, the first beat of each chorus.
Exactly.
They're just jangling through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's art reflecting society, where they don't like for example, in our band, me and May, a little shameless plug there, meandmay.com. That's a May with an E, by the way. Anyways, in our band, because most of us are a bit older and we're experienced, we come from sort of I would say we started playing before the internet, and so most of us, and so there's a lot of connection. We're like a family, and we spend time together away from music. And I think when we're in there, we pay attention to those details, but I think it's because the older ones in us in the band are more social than I would say your generation. Do you know what I mean? And you've become social because you hang out with us and you're influenced by us and stuff, and we're influenced by you. But
yeah, there's some interesting websites I found that you can become a member of this website that will actually put you with an online band, and you can play online with people. I don't know much more about it. It's called like Jam something.
But I would wonder. I'm wondering if there's still a little bit of a jangly disconnect in that lack of pocket because there's a little bit of latency.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right?
And then you have no knowledge of performing live or eye contact or making sure that you're, like you said, hitting the one at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Just things that, see, the average listener in a crowd doesn't know it, but they know it. You know, they don't understand that you're hitting the one or whatever, but they know the difference between a great band and a good band by the way it feels.
Yeah.
And so if you're not paying attention to all those little details, like it takes away the randomness of putting a band together. Right?
Oh, yeah,
if it has a randomness to it, you're kind of hoping it's going to be good. But if you know what I mean? Yeah. And then eventually it kind of does for whatever reason. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But
it just clicks. Yeah.
But if you get right to it in rehearsal, and because you are connected as people, and because there's again, you know, we were ending rehearsal today. We like to do these podcasts after rehearsal, and Rod gets up and he goes, hey, you know, every once in a while, there's just those moments where the band just starts to meld and it sounds like one person, and that I think is missing a little bit.
Oh yeah.
In modern music and.
Well, what did he say when we left that gig in where was that, Prince George?
Yeah.
Or something. He said something. He came out and he said something. I can't remember.
I don't remember either. It was one of his Rod isms. We'll get him on the show one time.
Oh yeah.
Get the drummer. He is my favorite drummer to play with as a guitar player, because he just has this beautiful pocket and he makes it it's effortless, you know. When you play with him, you don't have to think. That brings another point. Yeah. I feel like when you're playing, if you're starting to think, there's something wrong. Yeah. The thinking should be gone. It should be. I always know as a music director when I'm playing, if I'm getting lost in the music, then I know we're nailing it. Yeah. But if I'm not, and I start thinking about the hi-hat or where the bass is or what's going on with the lead, then I go, oh, there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
That might have to do with why we only play 3 licks too.
Yeah.
Because if we're in the zone and we're not worrying about all our licks and everything, we just play those 3 licks perfectly.
Exactly. Well, because it's our comfort zone.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's our comfort zone. Yeah. Now, when we say the 3-lick theory, it doesn't mean that Eddie Van Halen or Eric Johnson or Charlie Christian or whoever only knows 3 licks.
Oh yeah, no.
They know lots of licks, but they fucking lean on those 3 licks when they want to. Because the more comfortable you are with your instrument or with your licks, the more you can go into that zone where you're not thinking. Yeah. You're playing subconsciously. Yeah. You're sort of connecting with the oneness, you know.
And you can tell with these guys when they're playing lots of licks. You can tell when they go back to one of their 3 licks.
Oh yeah.
Their face just goes, oh.
They're just relaxed, and then they bring it in the audience, and they're like, oh, you know, and so, that's, I think if you're a guitar player out there, that's one thing to think about is I remember years ago, I used to subscribe to Guitar World, and back when there was print editions of it. I just dated myself there. But you know, I remember reading an article with the 2 guitar players from Judas Priest, oddly enough, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing. And what they were talking about, you know, when you're playing live, are you playing all the licks? I think that was the question. Are you playing all your licks? Are you at the edge of your playing? And they said no, quite the opposite. When they're playing live, they're sitting at about 50%. Yeah. They're sitting at 50% of what they know. So that's why in rehearsal a lot, this is my story and I'm sticking to it to my bandmates. But in rehearsal, I suck a lot because I'm constantly trying those licks.
You got to push yourself.
Yeah, I'm pushing myself, and so I'm going to screw up. But who cares? There's nobody in the room anyways. Yeah. But live, I lean on those 3 licks. I go back to that nice comfort zone, and then it seems effortless. Yeah. And that is basically the reason for the 3-lick theory, the reason why people lean on the 3-lick. You want to seem effortless. You want to go out there, and that takes a lot of work.
And I think, I don't think people really understand that most people, when you go and see them, they're not actually thinking.
No.
No. I think that's a common misconception, because they think, oh, you know, they're just thinking about all the notes, and it's amazing how they can think that fast. Well, no, they're not.
They're not thinking at all. Yeah, they're in cruise control. They're in their comfort zone.
They're bypassing their brain. They're going right from their heart to their fingers.
Hence, that's where you get the soul out of the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And that reminds me, I had the honor of meeting my heroes once. A guy named Bill Henderson, he's the singer, guitar player, songwriter for Chilliwack. Just a great songwriter, great singer, just a great guy. And we were talking. We were just sitting. I got to meet him backstage, and we were talking about, you know, different gigs and touring and all that. And he goes, "You're talking about how their best gigs would be, you know, those gigs where the routing was really bad and they drove 20 hours and they got no sleep and they did sound check and they were barely awake, but yet those shows were magical." Yeah. And I think it's because you're naturally not thinking. You don't even care at that point. You're just an automatic pilot. And he goes, we were always surprised in how magical those shows would be. We'd think they'd be disastrous, but they were the opposite. Because I think when you're too alert and you're thinking too much, you're in the brain instead of the heart, that's when you're not gelling. You're not moving as one unit. You're thinking too much and you're second guessing yourself and where's the hi-hat? Where's the kick? Whereas when you're in instinct mode and comfort zone, you just don't care. Well, there it is, and there it is. You're trusting your instincts.
Yeah, the interesting part about the fact that they were tired was there's a part in the brain called the prefrontal cortex.
Oh, interesting.
And it's in the front.
Yeah.
And what it does is it's like the planning and the organization, that area.
Yeah.
And so that's what you think, like when you're practicing something that's really difficult, that's what you use.
Yeah.
But when you get tired, that starts to shut off. And the same thing happens if you drink alcohol. So if you drink alcohol, the same thing. It shuts down, and you don't think as much, and it becomes more effortless, and you don't really worry as much. And so I think what he was trying to say, Bill Henderson, was that when he was tired, it just kind of seemed effortless, right?
Yeah. The frontal. What did you call it?
The prefrontal cortex.
There you go. Jeez. He's the smart one of the two. But no, that's a really good point. That's maybe that's why there's so much addiction with guitar players. Maybe that's why. I mean, Eddie struggled with alcoholism and all these sort of things because I think he constantly wanted to be out of that thinking part of the brain.
Probably, yeah. And I think when you're a musician, you want to get out of that.
Yeah.
You want to get out of that because if you think about too much, that's what drives you crazy, right? And playing guitar, it's effortless. It bypasses that part, and you can
Interesting.
be worry-free, right?
This is a really good psychological point of view because maybe that's because musicians are known to be kind of screw ups of society. They're screw ups, and it's weird. Even sort of co-managing musicians throughout my career, being the band leader and stuff, where you get to know these brilliant musicians, but man, their everyday life is a mess.
Yeah.
Whereas a highly functioning person in society really leans on that. What did you call it? The prefrontal cortex. They lean on that. In fact, they live there. And that's why when you're hanging out with a lawyer and accountant, there's not much soul going on. It's it's this, that, to the point, and there's not much creativity going on. Yet a great lawyer or a great accountant will actually blend the two.
Yeah.
Right? Their thinking and their creative side.
I was listening to one of my favorite psychologists, and he was talking about how he knew a painter, and the painter would be they'd do amazing paintings, like absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he started to think, he would completely drive himself crazy. Like he wouldn't paint, he would just like lie in bed all the time. Like he would just go absolutely crazy. I can't remember the painter's name. And then as soon as he didn't think, he would just start painting again.
That nails the point.
Yeah,
that nails the point. It's funny because in the last little while, I kind of walk between two worlds as my role in the band. I'm the music director. I'm also play a big role in the business. My full-time job during the day is talking to the manager and talking to people for gigs and all that stuff. And so lately I've been in a bit of a creative lull. And then I was really, really tired the other day, just exhausted and not caring about life, but knowing we needed another song, inspired that we're going in the studio soon, all this stuff. And all of a sudden this chorus came to me. It was just like, as soon as there's no thinking, like I have a very difficult time as well. Like when I know I got to go into heavy business mode and there's touring coming up and there's gigs and all that, the I just accept the fact that I'm probably not gonna be able to write a song.
Yeah.
But then when I'm in the creative side, I'm less structured. Yeah. I'm usually tired. It's the middle of the night or whatever. It's sort of that. So yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting. That's perhaps as a listener, or the listener might be interested in. Is there you go. Maybe that's why you're struggling with creativity. Maybe
just drink more. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there you go. Drink, do drugs, and give her. No, it's we better put a disclaimer on this. Geez, we have kids listening, and we're going to get sued for this. So we do not encourage that. For the record, we do not encourage drinking and doing drugs. We think it's a horrible thing.
Just getting tired.
Yeah. Just get tired. Just tire yourself out.
That's the most rowdy part. Yeah.
But don't drive while you're feeling tired.
Oh no, because that's just like drunk driving.
Yeah,
it's actually the exact same thing.
Yeah, you're totally right. But speaking of driving, some of my best songs or riffs or whatever
I was just gonna mention
right?
That. Yeah,
while driving.
Yeah, I get so many phone calls from you, and you're driving. You're like, "Oh, I have this awesome idea."
Yeah. I think because when you're driving, you're turning off that. I think you have to be creative to be a good driver. I think the organized. You can't overthink. Again, driving is like a good performance. If you overthink it, you cause accidents. If you're overthinking, you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah, as soon as you start to focus on too many things on the road, you focus on one thing, and you kind of lose focus on another thing. You have to have an abstract view of the road.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that kind of bypasses the prefrontal cortex.
There you go. And hence, so if you're having a problem writing a song or
there was an author that I had heard of. I can't remember their name, but she would write her whole book, and it was like a best-selling book, but it was all through driving.
Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how she did it. I don't know if she recorded herself talking, or she'd remember it all. But the whole thing was written while driving.
Well, she probably had a recorder on.
Yeah,
the microphone. And that's how I wrote this chorus. I'm going to show it to the band on Monday. Is it just came to me like it's interesting because for me, writing starts to happen. We're swaying a little bit from guitar playing, but hey, these are songs to play guitar solos on, okay? But for me, the writing process comes from the frontal. I keep forgetting what it's called.
Prefrontal cortex.
Cortex. I get organized. We need this type of song and that type of song. I start to get organized, and then I start to let go, and I start to go flow, and I'm driving, and I'm letting the creative side, and all of a sudden, boom! I hear this. So I think that ties in from a psychological point of view. I remember reading this great book called "The Power of the Subconscious Mind" by Dr. Joseph Murphy. I think it is. It's a great book, especially if you're into psychology and human behavior and all that. And he talks about how the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are two separate entities. So you've got the conscious mind is like the person at the computer. You're executing demands on the computer. The subconscious mind is the computer.
Yeah.
It's the subconscious mind, like the computer, is amoral. It doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It doesn't care. It there's no feeling. It just tries to execute what you're trying to tell it to do.
Right.
So when you're telling the subconscious mind, when you're conscious, when you're thinking about something, and with passion, with feeling behind it, with motivation behind it, you're sitting at your computer, the subconscious mind, and you're telling it what to do. That's why it's really important to have positive thoughts.
Yeah, it's like the movie Ratatouille.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. On the topic of the unconscious mind and subconscious mind, I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Einstein or something. Probably wasn't, because everything's attributed to Einstein.
Yeah. He gets all the credit.
Yeah. But what he would do, I think, is he would sleep, and then he'd hold a key in his right hand, and he'd sleep in a chair, and then there'd be a pan or a pot or something
I heard about this. Yeah.
On the ground, and he whenever he was about to drift off into unconsciousness, like sleeping, the key would drop and it would wake himself up. And that's where he got his best ideas.
Because he'd be kind of in between the world of subconscious and conscious. They'd be connecting the dots. Well, Keith Richards claims that a lot of his great songs would happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
He'd be kind of woken up. Yeah. He'd hear something. He'd record it, forget about it. He'd always have a little tape player by. Yeah. And there you go. So he's in this sort of subconscious world, right?
Yeah, the song Yesterday, which I think is the most covered song in history, was written in the middle of the night by Paul McCartney.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard that he was hungry or something. It was like scrambled eggs. So
yeah.
I had some scrambled eggs.
Yeah, but he was lying in bed, so he was hungry lying in bed. And then I guess he wanted breakfast. Maybe it was the morning.
Yeah, I don't know. Or early in the morning or whatever. But yeah, no, that falls into. I mean, I know during my formative years, there was always a guitar by my bed. Lots of times I fell asleep with my guitar in my hand, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night. And, and
I remember that. Yeah.
And another thing, I don't know why this reminded me of this, but don't get discouraged when you're practicing. I notice this when we rehearse too. We'll be rehearsing and it just sounds like crap. Then we take a break. We come back next week, and then for whatever reason, it just sounds magical.
Yeah.
And so you have to sort of give some space. Don't get discouraged because you can't get it. Like, walk away from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how that ties into the conscious and subconscious, but somehow I just thought of that. So anyway, how long have we been doing this? So
I don't know. We could be up to the limit.
Yeah,
here.
what is there? Where are we?
Let's have a look here.
Where are we?
Let's push this button, and then we're gonna push this button.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And we are at 23 minutes.
Wow.
So
cool.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
there.
yeah, we're still learning how to do this.
Joe Rogan will be coming on soon.
Yes. So he's going to be our guest. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But we do. Speaking of that, we do plan on having guests. We're going to approach anybody. Actually, if you want to be on, get a hold of us. We like to, or if you have any topics you want us to talk about, or if you think we suck or we're
any
great.
Shout outs?
Yeah, shout outs. Whatever you want. Let us know. We want to hear from you guys. Message us, text us. I don't think they can text us, but not yet.
We're not giving out
unless you know us. If you know who we are, text us. But anyways, well, thank you for
Actually, you can text Clyde.
Yeah, text Clyde, our manager. You'll find our number on our website.
Yeah.
But anyway, this has been fun, man.
Yeah.
Until the next one.
Yeah, sounds good.